I think that this is a very good occasion where we have Mayor John Lamb of Lewes, East Sussex in the UK, and Mayor Ted Becker of Lewes in Delaware in the United States, and along with me, of course, always Melissa Winton, lady in New York, and those of you who recognize the hat will know that I'm Keith Hayes. We'll try to keep off some of the doom and gloom of the world. One of the things that I would really like to ask you, Mayor Becker, if you don't mind, is we make a lot about Tom Paine here, but we don't make much about William Penn. And yet Penn was very instrumental and a key historical figure when it comes to Lewes, Delaware.
Correct. Very correct.
Do you make a fuss of him?
I beg your pardon?
You make a fuss of him?
We do not. Actually, we pay a lot of attention to our Dutch heritage because the Dutch originally founded this community in 1631. And so there's a lot of interest in that. William Penn is certainly recognized, but I would say that the community recognizes the Dutch heritage more than they do the William Penn heritage. That's not saying that William Penn isn't appreciated for the efforts to reestablish and make Lewes what it is. But the Dutch, having been the original founders, are really paid most attention.
John, how do you feel about William Penn? Because we really don't make much of him here, do we?
Well, we don't. And to be quite honest, I couldn't tell you much about him other than that he's got a state named after him. No. Actually, I think you began by talking about the disaster, the current disaster, and I have been looking through the correspondence between mayors of Lewes in Sussex and the mayors in Delaware, and I have to say that usually the letters are exchanged when there is a disaster, when there's a flood, a hurricane, or a snowstorm. That you reading through these letters, you get the impression that both towns are, the town and the city are constantly under siege from the elements.
Well, of course, in many ways, Mayor Becker is right. I mean, going back to the Dutch settlements, they were born of violence, and Lewes most certainly was, if we want to count 1066 and the ousting of the Saxons. So perhaps, unfortunately, that is a common tie. But I wonder if one of the things that I find is that despite we have the same name, that we don't know much here about Lewes other than the name, and we're very proud of the link, but it is through the name. So what sort of economy do you have there, Mayor Becker? Because all I know is that somebody dropped some dollar notes from a helicopter, and after that, I don't know very much.
Well, that was a funny story too, but Lewes' economy right now is largely a retirement-based community. We're about 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and a half from Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington. So we draw from those areas primarily for a retirement community. However, and second homes. However, we do have a very thriving medical facility here by the name of Beebe Hospital, established by two brothers who were the doctors Beebe. And the hospital is about 105 years old and continues to grow. They're the largest employer in Sussex County now. They employ nearly 3,000 people. And so that really puts Lewes on the map medically because they are the major medical facility in downstate Delaware.
Now, John, you were quoted, I haven't read it all, but in the magazine Town and County, you were quoted today as saying you're seeing a remarkable change in Lewes. What sort of changes are you seeing?
Well, I think currently, I mean, we're seeing an upsurge in community spirit, because I do think that the pandemic has brought out the very best in people. So, you know, it's been a terrible experience, but I think it has had a silver lining in the sense that people are looking after their neighbors. They are running food banks. They are doing their very best for each other in a way that I don't think we've seen for a very long time.
if I could respond also, Lewes has been a town of volunteers. We enjoy so much here because we have so many volunteer organizations that have created and really improved the community far beyond what the municipal government could hope to do. But we too have seen an upsurge in volunteerism and in community spirit and helping one another. We have food bank programs and other things that are really reaching out to those that are in need, but also helping just each other as neighbors. The mean age here is about 65. So we have a lot of people who are in a risk category, and the outreach has been really good to support each other.
Now,
Mayors, could I just
always wanted to ask, can we have our ball back? Because you've got a cannonball stuck in one of your staircases that belongs to us.
Actually, it's stuck in the foundation of a building, and I think it's pretty well cemented in. We'll be glad to send you a replica, probably.
How did it get there, Mayor Becker?
Well, it was actually the War of 1812, but it was actually fired in 1813. So while we recognize the War of 1812, the actual bombardment of Lewes occurred in 1813. Fortunately, there was no loss of life. There was a loss of a few chickens and I think a pig. But other than that, there was no loss of life. But the town spirit in 1813 rallied with trying to create torches and things so they would deceive the British into thinking there was a huge cadre of people here. And they were really running around in the dark, burning torches and things, trying to, those ships that were offshore, trying to convince them that this was a major stronghold, when in fact it was a small fishing village. So it's kind of a funny story.
John, the French, even though we don't like to admit it, once sailed up the Ouse and occupied Lewes. So we've had our own instances of being attacked by a foreign power, if I can put it that way.
Indeed, yes, yes. And of course, William de Warenne, who was the first Norman to take over the town, built a castle and then a huge priory, which is, I don't know if you've been over here, Ted, but the priory is all in ruins now, knocked down by Henry VIII. But yeah, I mean, Lewes has always punched above its weight, because ever since the Normans made it a capital of Sussex, it's been a pretty important place. And even though it's pretty small, we've only got a population of 17,000, and yet we've got all the institutions that that manage East Sussex. So the police, courts, the county council, all of those bodies have got their headquarters here. So yeah, and incidentally, your remarks about aging, I think it's also true of Lewes as well. We do have quite a high retired population. I mean, I'm quite a spring chicken, I think, compared with many people in our town.
Melissa, I cut you off. How about you talking?
Oh, that's okay. I just want to avoid being just the pretty face in the group. As you may not know, mayors, but Keith and I used to be co-anchors on a business show on public television in the United States. So my interest is economic, and I just wanted to throw out a question about how are the smaller businesses faring right now? And Mayor Becker, what's going on with King's Ice Cream? That's really one of my favorite places in Lewes.
King's Ice Cream is certainly an institution here and very well respected, and occupies a main spot on 2nd Street, our small business district. The downtown district of Lewes is made up of all small businesses. We have no chain stores in downtown Lewes. Out on Route 1, which is about 1.5 miles from downtown, we have the big box stores that you would normally expect. But our small businesses are all unique. They're all privately owned. They've struggled to get open and stay open. We have many small restaurants that are really core of attracting people, as well as our businesses, our retail businesses. We as a city have tried to help them by reducing the length of our parking meter season and the length of hours of operation of the parking meters. We've certainly had a group between the Chamber of Commerce and the city trying to work on other ways that we can incentivize people. There was a group of men and women who came together and organized a campaign called Love Lewes, which generated posters and T-shirts and face masks and other things with that logo on it, very dynamic, and was very well received, not only locally, but statewide. So I would say they've all struggled. They've all seen a downturn. Of course, our being a beach community primarily initially, our summer season is the big hit for us. And it was a short season this year, very short. And we never did see the volumes of people or business that we normally would see in a year. But I would say, again, helping each other. Business are helping one another, trying to attract business. Some businesses have launched online sales, which has helped them a lot to get through the lack of retail, actual brick and mortar visits that have gone on. So we're working through it, but it is a challenge.
Well,
Mayor Lamb?
That's tremendously interesting because it's very much the same picture over here. The center of Lewes is almost entirely occupied by small businesses, and the town council has been trying to do its best to encourage people to shop locally, to give up their brown boxes delivered to their doorsteps, get outside and go and shop in their town centre. And we've been running a promotion which involves a prize draw. Over the last week or so, I've visited about 70 shops, and it's very interesting because I would say overall the atmosphere is philosophical. They've accepted the difficulties, and we've had a couple of lockdowns this past year, but nonetheless these retailers, although they've had a big hit and some of them have closed their doors, most of them are reasonably optimistic and expect next year to hold better things, and that they'll be able to get through it and continue in business. Yeah, that's been interesting. And I think another aspect of the pandemic has been efforts to try and make the place more comfortable for people shopping, on foot, so to try and reduce the weight of traffic that's going through the town. And I think that's something that's probably going to bear fruit in the future, maybe next year or the year after.
Mayor Becker, I was reading somewhere how you arrived at whatever you call yourself, and it's not Lewesians. Apparently there was quite a debate about what you should be called. What do you call yourselves nowadays?
Lewes community members, Lewes Town. I don't think we have a true vernacular name that we assign ourselves. We're well known, but I'd like to comment on John's comment about people coming together. We also, a group of the merchants came together along with the city, and we did an ad campaign on the local television station promoting individual businesses, and individual businesses bought into that. And that has played out. We did it in August and September, and then it went dormant, and then we picked it up again for the Christmas season. It's really helped draw people out and make people feel as though they know what the businesses are and what people have. So it's been a very, very strong campaign. It's a 30-second ad, but each one features 3 businesses, and it really helps promote and for people to know what's going on downtown.
John, you had an initiative as well for small businesses through the local television station.
Yeah, yes, I did. You mean you mean our shop independent promotion? Yes, indeed. So what happened was 70 shops in the town came together, and they provided prizes for a draw, and shoppers were invited to get 5 stamps from any of these shops. Go in and buy something and get a stamp. And in fact, this afternoon we're going to be having the draw to see who's going to get some of those prizes. I think they've been sorted out into 3 lots, 3 hampers, and that's proved very popular. I mean, I think they've had scores and scores of people, getting their cards stamped and handing them into the Tourist Information Centre. And I have to say, our Tourist Information Centre has been very much the hub for promoting, our local businesses, and I think they've done a great job in that.
Can you, mayors, would you tell us more about some of your Christmas festivities, this being this wonderful time of year to try to be more positive given the difficult times?
I'll be happy to tell you a little bit about Lewes. Unfortunately, this year we've had to cancel most of our activities. We normally have a huge Christmas parade, which lasts well over an hour and a half, and attracts from all kinds of people and children, and it's very, very fun and huge crowds. So we canceled that. We canceled the carol sing. We canceled the cookie walk. Churches canceled their cookie walks, but we did have the Historic Lewes, the Lewes Historic Society did a great job with creating their house tour, which is always the first weekend in December, but they did it as a virtual tour this year. And it's still up and running. You can go to their website and get on, and it's a tour of 8 homes, insides, decorated for the holidays. It's quite a lovely tour. The first time they've ever done it, very successful. And we were able to install our Santa house in the middle of downtown, and our Santa is busy there greeting children on Saturdays and Sundays. And it's been quite a draw. The other thing we had happen was we have a group of hospitality ambassadors, which are men and women who volunteer to remind people to wear their face masks and help them navigate and help them understand where public restrooms are and other things. And that's been very, very well received. But they've been helping Santa greet children. Santa's in his house, the children are standing outside. And one of our local developers actually built a mailbox for Santa. And the children can drop off their letters, and believe it or not, Santa's answering. So it's been fun, and it's been very well received. I think I sent you a photograph of Santa arriving on a boat, and that was one of the things that was kind of a kickoff for Santa's arrival. And it's been fun.
Ted, those sound great ideas.
Parade in November, John.
Sorry?
We have active parade in November.
We did indeed, and I think, Ted, that you've given me some great ideas, especially your Santa's Grotto, because like you, we had to cancel we usually have a special late night shopping day with night with choirs and all sorts of entertainments. None of that this year. We've got to make our own entertainment, and one of the things I've noticed is, I'm sure it's the same over there, people like to decorate their homes. They like to put lots of lights outside. And this year, there's been a phenomenal increase in, people are making a huge effort to get those giant blow-up Santas or, lights festooned all over their houses. In fact, actually, we ought to have a competition for who's got the best designed Christmas lights. Because of course, here Christmas is very much a family affair. People travel from all over the place to come together. Unfortunately, this year there are restrictions on the numbers of people that can get together. So I think some people will be disappointed. And of course, there's been a lot of debate about, what is the best way to keep people safe. But it's not going to be quite the same as it has been. Well,
you mentioned lighting houses and things, and I sent some pictures also of homes that have been lit. That was actually a volunteer a man and a woman came together to create a program called Lewes Lights, which is an all-volunteer thing, and they did it all on the internet. No help money-wise from the city or the Chamber of Commerce. This was a community-based volunteer thing. They have almost 400 homes and businesses that have entered their contest to be judged by the public as to what house is the most colorful or the most exciting. And they've got 5 or 6 different categories of prizes they will award. So it's been, and what it's done is it's brought people in driving through the town and the streets to see these lights. It's been very, very uplifting. So I think your program is very similar to ours from the sounds of it. So congratulations.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to ask is, John, we are very ceremonial with the mayoralty in Lewes. Lots of chains and lots of hats and lots of gowns. I wonder if you just describe, because remember, we're being viewed by a lot of people who don't know anything about either community, just what happens with some of your major ceremonies. And then we can ask Mayor Becker if there's a similarity.
Well, actually, I've got to apologize to your viewers, Keith. I am completely underdressed. What I should be wearing, and I'm afraid I don't have it with me, is a red cloak trimmed with fur, fake fur, and a gold chain dating back to 1880. It was made for the first mayor of the borough of Lewes. Also I have a little sort of white neckerchief, I suppose. So it looks very 18th century. Yeah, as Keith says, the mayor of Lewes in Sussex is really a ceremonial post. You know, I visit people's events, I open things, I attend church services, all things like that. And usually there's, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 of those a week, maybe more. Of course, the town council does have meetings, and I chair those meetings. But our powers, I suspect, are limited compared with the city of Lewes. You know, I don't get to control the police force or the health services. We don't have any say over this. Well, as I say, we don't have responsibility. We do have some say. Obviously, we're a voice for the town. We are consulted, but I'm afraid other authorities look after those things for us.
Yeah.
Do you have a cocked hat and a mace bearer, Mayor Becker?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but we do not. Most of that ceremonial garb is not part of this community. I do exactly what John's saying. I attend a lot of ceremonial events, a lot of ribbon cuttings, a lot of groundbreakings and things like that. And of course, speak at many different events. But we have a very similar structure in that we have a council, and I work with the council to recommend and adopt regulations regarding zoning and building and things like that, as well as how the city is managed. We do have a city manager. Our police department does report to the city manager. Ultimately, this council has the mayor and council have an oversight role there. But we are very similar in terms of how we approach working with people. And we're very, being a small community, you said you're 17,000, we're just at 3,000 people. So we're a fraction of your population. And being the mayor of this town, and I live downtown, you're very much in contact with people. I see a lot of people on a daily basis.
Melissa, would you like to ask a couple of questions?
I wanted to, why don't we take a look a little bit and see what your visions are for 2021 for each of your, you know, prospective city and towns. Give us an idea of what you're looking for in the new year.
Tom?
Who would you like to go first?
Yes. How about, all right, we'll start with Mayor Lamb.
Okay. Well, last year, our council spent quite a lot of time drawing up a vision of how we would like the town to progress. So we have a list of priorities we want to that we want to achieve in the coming years. I think over the next 5 years, in fact. And top of that actually is transport. I mentioned that there are a growing number of people who would like to see less traffic and traffic in the town, and traffic driving more slowly in the town, to make it a pleasanter place to be in. So traffic is certainly one of our key priorities. I think beyond that, biodiversity, tree planting, you know, trying to preserve the ecology, and also operating in a sustainable way. I mean, as a council, we have, for example, swapped out our gas-fired boilers, heating boilers in some of our buildings for air source heat pumps, much greener energy sources. So, you know, I think that we'll be doing a lot more of that in the future.
Very good. Mayor Becker?
Well, I would echo most of what John just said. We're very concerned about growth in the area because Sussex County is rapidly growing. It's one of the most rapidly growing counties in the eastern half of the US. So we're very concerned about growth and access, transportation, because we're so vehicular dependent. We don't have a really good public transportation system at this point. And that's a challenge, especially dealing with an older population. But also because of our proximity to the ocean and Delaware Bay, we're very concerned about what sea level rise and climate change might mean to us as a community. So we're looking, our planning commission is adopting ordinances relating to, or recommending ordinances for us to adopt, relating to those environmental changes that are occurring, and how we can be a more resilient and a more sustainable community. We do have a strategic planning meeting every year to sort of set goals and priorities. But if I were to speak in terms of the overall population, I think most of the community is anxious to get back to a lifestyle they had known. And that is being able to interact. This is a town where festivals and ceremonies and other kind of public gatherings draw a lot of people and provide a lot of opportunity for interaction. And it really is helping to cohese the community around a vision for, let's make this a wonderful place to live. And it is a wonderful place to live. And people are wanting to get back to that. It's frustrating for a lot of people. But as we've said earlier, what they're doing in terms of helping one another in some ways achieves that. So
indeed. Could I just say, you mentioned the environment, Ted. We're very pleased here. In the center of the town is an industrial area which has been semi-derelict now for years and years. And finally, over the last couple of weeks, there's been an announcement that there's the go-ahead to redevelop it. And we're really looking forward to that. And part of the redevelopment will be providing flood defenses, because we're about 7 miles away from the sea, up a river, but we are very prone to flooding, and it's happened. It seems to happen every 20 years or so, those major floods in the town. You know, these flood defenses, I think, will help to secure Lewes for the future.
Sure. Yes, we're very fortunate.
I'm going to call a sort of a halt now, because believe it or not, it's been so interesting that we've been going for almost half an hour. But
there's a bit of editing to be done then, Keith.
As Churchill said, to two great nations divided by a common language. But I think that the divisions we can heal with Lewes and Lewes. And I hope that this will become a regular feature over the coming months. Perhaps once a month we can get together. I know you're both very busy, but nonetheless, talking to people, as you both said, is an important part of your job. And I hope that we can facilitate that. I find it most interesting to find out what is happening in Lewes, Delaware. But by the same token, I love walking out through my front door and seeing what John's up to. So I hope that we can do this a bit more frequently and learn about each other's communities. But we do a round table on a Sunday night, and we always end off by giving everybody a chance to have the last word, as it were. So Mayor Becker, let's give you a chance to have a last word, and then we'll come to John.
Well, Keith and Melissa, I thank you very much for the opportunity to do this. I've long thought that we should have a closer relationship with our sister city in England, and this is a great opportunity. I look forward to doing it. I know a lot of people. I've had the opportunity to visit your community and found it quite interesting. And I think we recognize Thomas Paine. As we've said already, we don't really pay much attention to William Penn, although he was monumental in what happened here. But I look forward to the opportunity to get to know more about what's going on in Lewes, England. And I think our community would be very supportive of knowing more about how you're managing. There's so many similarities that we've identified in this conversation this morning with our proximity to and concerns about environment and all of that. I think it really does help bridge the gap. The ocean is wide, but it doesn't mean we can't, it's a dividing point. We can be more together. So thank you very much.
I couldn't agree more with those sentiments, and I hope we can keep in much closer contact. I've never been to Delaware. I've been to quite a few of the eastern states, but not Delaware, unfortunately. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to rectifying when we can travel. And I will make it my first stop to come and see you in Lewes. And Ted, you've been a mayor, haven't you, for some while? Is that right?
Yes, I'm in my third term.
Oh,
In my sixth, so this is the sixth year that I've been mayor.
well, I'm going to make sure that I get over there before your term of office ends.
Okay, great. Well, it's been over 20 years since I was in your community, and I was there actually between Christmas and New Year's for a very brief visit, over just one day actually. I was in London and came down and spent the day kind of in your community. Quite charming, and so I've thought frequently about the idea of organizing a group to come over and visit you. So perhaps we can both visit each other in the near future.
We'd love that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, Melissa, you always have the penultimate word. A final word from you?
Well, I have a few years ago I had the pleasure of visiting Lewes, Delaware. It is absolutely beautiful. I was so impressed. I really had not got to know Delaware very well. It's kind of the place from New York where I go travel, see friends in Maryland, and I don't usually stop there. And when I did, I was just taken aback by its beauty. And so definitely, Mayor Lamb, come on over. It's gorgeous. And I truly, in the new year, am looking forward to coming and visiting Lewes, UK. So, and meeting you as well. So
there's one other reason why I'd like to go. I like sailing, and I've seen the pictures of the boats in your city.
Yeah.
Well,
We're right at the mouth of the Delaware Bay, so there's a lot of opportunity. So.
I'm not sure that I do my favorite town of Lewes any favors by pointing out that in the mid-1800s, we had 63 pubs and 17 breweries. Most of them have gone today, I'm afraid. However, what I would like to do is to thank everybody for this program. It's funny, but at the bottom of the screen, it says Mayor Ted Becker, and then it says Mayor John Lamb, and then it says Melissa Winton, and then with me it says 44782. So
Yes.
Is that your prisoner number, Keith?
People have to visit me in prison. We've got one of those. Thank you very much indeed. A lovely time, and I hope that we can do this very frequently, or at least in a regular pattern. Yes, John?
No, I was just waving goodbye.
All right.
Great.
Well,
thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Bye.
Thank you.
happy holidays, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.